The morning sun spilled through the tall windows of the Grandview Hotel, casting golden stripes across the polished marble floors. In the heart of downtown Chicago, the hotel stood like a quiet sentinel, its elegant facade hiding countless stories within its walls. Inside room 1408 on the top floor, Maria Alvarez moved with the steady rhythm of routine. Her cart, laden with fresh towels, tiny shampoo bottles, and cleaning sprays, squeaked softly as she pushed it down the hallway. At 23, Maria had worked at the Grandview for 2 years, her hands quick and her smile warm, even on the longest days. Maria's mornings began early, before the city fully woke. She liked the quiet of the hotel at this hour, when the guests were still asleep or just stirring. The silence felt like a gift, a moment to breathe before the day's demands took over. She wore her navy uniform with pride, her name tag pinned neatly above her heart. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her brown eyes carried a gentle determination. This job wasn't just a paycheck. It was a step toward something bigger, though she wasn't quite sure what that was yet. Room 1408 was her last stop before her break. It was one of the penthouse suites, reserved for the hotel's wealthiest guests. The room smelled of crisp linens and faint lavender from the air freshener she'd sprayed yesterday. The bed, a sprawling king with a plush white comforter, looked barely touched, as if the guest had only sat on it briefly. Maria glanced at the clock on the nightstand, 9:47 a.m. She had time to finish before the guest returned. The schedule said a Mr. Daniel Hawthorne, some businessman, was staying here for the week. She began her work, humming softly to herself, a lullaby her mother used to sing. She dusted the mahogany desk, fluffed the pillows, and wiped down the marble bathroom counter. The suite was pristine, almost too perfect, like a stage set waiting for its actors. But the bed called to her, not because of its luxury, but because of the ache in her back. She'd been on her feet since 5 a.m., and the weight of the week pressed down on her. Just for a moment, she thought, sitting on the edge of the bed. The mattress was soft, like sinking into a cloud. Her eyes grew heavy, the lullaby fading in her throat. Before she knew it, her head rested on the pillow, and sleep pulled her under. Daniel Hawthorne stepped off the elevator, his leather shoes clicking against the floor. At 42, he carried himself with the quiet confidence of a man who'd built a fortune from nothing. His tech company had taken off a decade ago, and now he traveled the world, sealing deals in cities like Chicago. But success hadn't erased the loneliness that clung to him like a shadow. He'd checked into the Grandview for a conference, but the truth was, he preferred the anonymity of hotels. They were predictable, controlled, unlike the chaos of his personal life. He swiped his keycard and pushed open the door to room 1408, expecting the usual sterile perfection. Instead, he froze. A young woman lay curled on his bed, her navy uniform slightly wrinkled, her breathing soft and even. A cleaning cart stood in the corner, a rag draped over its edge. For a moment, Daniel stood still, his briefcase heavy in his hand. He wasn't angry, more curious, maybe even amused. But beneath that something stirred, a flicker of concern. She looked exhausted. Her face peaceful but lined with the kind of tiredness that went deeper than one sleepless night. He set his briefcase down quietly and stepped closer. Her name tag read, Maria. She was young, maybe his niece's age, with a faint crease between her brows, as if she carried worries even in sleep. Daniel glanced around the room, noticing the half-finished cleaning, the dusted desk, the neatly folded towels. She'd been working hard, that much was clear. He could wake her, report her, or simply leave and let her rest. The last option felt right, though he wasn't sure why. Instead of leaving, he sat in the armchair by the window, his suit jacket draped over the back. The Chicago skyline stretched out before him, all glass and steel. But his eyes kept drifting to Maria. He wondered about her life. What brought her here? What kept her going? His own life felt so different. A whirlwind of meetings and numbers, yet somehow empty. He pulled out his phone, pretending to check emails, but really, he was giving her time. Time to rest, time to not be caught. Maria stirred, her eyes fluttering open. The soft pillow beneath her felt wrong. Too luxurious. Panic hit her like a wave. She sat up, her heart racing, and saw a man in the armchair, watching her with calm, dark eyes. He was older, dressed in a sharp suit, his hair streaked with grey. She scrambled to her feet, smoothing her uniform, her face burning. "I'm so sorry, sir," she stammered. "I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry." Daniel raised a hand, his expression gentle. "It's okay. Really. You looked like you needed a break." Maria's stomach twisted. She could lose her job over this. She'd heard stories of maids being fired for less. Spilling coffee, forgetting a towel, falling asleep on a guest's bed. That was unforgivable. "Please, sir, don't tell my manager. I'll finish the room right now. It won't happen again." He stood, moving slowly, as if not to startle her. "I'm not going to tell anyone," he said. "What's your name?" "Mariah," she said, her voice small. She braced for a lecture, but it didn't come. "I'm Daniel." He smiled just a little, and it softened the lines of his face. "Long day." She nodded, unsure what to say. "I've been here since early. I didn't mean to fall asleep. It's just the bed looked so comfortable." He chuckled, a warm sound. "It is. I barely use it myself. Too busy running around the city." Maria relaxed slightly, though her hands still fidgeted with the hem of her uniform. "I'll get back to work," she said, moving toward her cart. "Wet," Daniel said. "Can I ask you something?" She paused, surprised. "Okay. Why do you do this? The cleaning, I mean. It looks like hard work." Maria hesitated. No guest had ever asked her that before. They usually ignored her or left tips without a word. "It's a good job," she said finally. "It pays for my classes. I'm studying to be a nurse." "A nurse." Daniel's eyebrows lifted. "That's impressive. Long hours here and school too." "Yeah," she said, a shy smile breaking through. "It's a lot, but I want to help people. My mom was sick when I was a kid, and the nurses, they made a difference." Daniel nodded, his gaze thoughtful. "That's a good reason. Better than most." She tilted her head, curious despite herself. "What about you? What do you do?" He laughed softly, like he hadn't expected the question. "I run a company. Tech stuff. Lots of meetings, not much sleep. Sounds busy," she said. And for a moment, they shared a look. Two people carrying their own kinds of weight. The conversation drifted into silence, but it wasn't awkward. Maria went back to cleaning, and Daniel sat again, watching the skyline. He didn't leave, and she didn't ask him to. There was something comforting about his presence, like a stranger who felt familiar. When she finished, the room gleamed, every surface perfect. "Thank you," Daniel said as she gathered her supplies. "It looks great." Maria nodded, her throat tight. She wanted to say more, to thank him for not reporting her, for talking to her like she mattered. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, she pushed her cart toward the door. "Maria," he called softly. She turned. He reached into his wallet and pulled out a crisp $100 bill. "For you." Not a tip, just something to help with those classes. Her eyes widened. "I can't take that. It's too much." "Please," he said, his voice earnest. "I've got more than I need. If you're going to be a nurse, you're going to help a lot of people. Let me help you get there." Maria's vision blurred with tears. She took the bill, her fingers trembling. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Daniel said. "Just keep going." She nodded, slipping the money into her pocket. As she left the room, the weight of the day felt lighter, like a small piece of her dream had come into focus. That evening, Daniel sat alone in room 1408, the city lights twinkling outside. He thought about Maria, her quiet strength, her determination. He'd met countless people in boardrooms and conferences, but none had left him feeling like this, like he'd done something that mattered. He opened his laptop and typed an email to his assistant, asking her to look into scholarship programs for nursing students. Maybe he could do more, not just for Maria, but for others like her. Downstairs, Maria clocked out, her shift finally over. She sat in the break room, the $100 bill still in her pocket. It wasn't just money. It was a reminder that kindness could come from unexpected places. She thought of her mother, who'd always said the world was full of good people if you looked hard enough. For the first time in a long while, Maria believed it. As she stepped into the cool Chicago night, the city felt a little softer, a little warmer. She walked toward the bus stop, her heart full, ready for whatever came next.